My boss threw out my lunch. Labeled. Dated. Untouched. Then reported me to HR for hostility. I just smiled and started labeling my food differently. This morning, HR got a new complaint from her. I found my lunch in the trash. Still sealed. Perfectly fine. Just sitting on top of a banana peel and someone's half-drunk LaCroix like it didn't belong. It was a black bean chili I made the night before. Tupperware container, clear label with my name written in thick Sharpie, Eric. All caps. Centered. Not subtle. I work in a small office. 12 of us total. We're not Google, we've got one fridge, one microwave, and one of those Keurig machines that everyone pretends makes good coffee. I've been meal prepping to save money. Groceries are cheaper than eating out every day, and my metabolism isn't what it was at 25. These meals aren't fancy, but they're mine. For days a week, I bring in Tupperware containers and stash them in the back corner of the fridge. Last week, 2 of them vanished. Not opened. Not half-eaten. Gone. I figured someone grabbed the wrong one by accident, so I started labeling them better. Switched from just Eric to Eric do not eat fresh 7 halves. Still, one went missing on Thursday. Then Friday happened. I came into the kitchen around 12:30, ready for the same black bean chili I'd been looking forward to all morning. It was a weirdly busy morning, budget meeting, emails from corporate, a surprise Zoom call with a client who apparently doesn't understand time zones, and all I wanted was 10 peaceful minutes with a spoon and some hot food. But my container wasn't there. Not in the back. Not pushed to the side. Not in the freezer. I checked the trash on a whim. There it was. Untouched. Cold, yes, but clearly still good. And yes, still sealed. The label was right there, staring up at me like an insult. I asked around the office. Casual at first. Hey, anyone see who cleaned the fridge today? That's when Diane, my boss, looked up from her laptop and said, totally calm, oh, I cleaned it out. Stuff piles up in there. I thought it was old. I blinked. It was labeled. And dated. I brought it in this morning. She shrugged. I didn't read it that closely. You should put a more obvious date on it next time. Like I was the problem. I said, Diane, it was my lunch. My name was on it. And she just kind of waved it off. Next time, just mark the day you brought it in. Friday's my clean-out day. That's when I felt it. The heat in my chest. The invisible balloon of frustration swelling behind my ribs. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I just said, all right, turned around, walked back to my desk, grabbed my keys, and left. I texted her on the way out, not feeling well. Heading home early. Logging the rest of my hours remote. She didn't reply. Fast forward to this morning, Monday, I come in, sit down, and find an email waiting for me from HR. Subject line, concerns regarding workplace conduct. Apparently, Diane told them I left abruptly, was hostile when she tried to explain the fridge policy, and that I've been increasingly difficult to manage. I had to sit through a whole call where they asked me if I felt overwhelmed or emotionally reactive at work lately. I wanted to scream. Instead, I calmly explained the situation. Told them I've been bringing lunch to save money, that my food was thrown away repeatedly, and that I simply left early and let my manager know. No yelling. No behavior issues. Just one guy who wanted to eat his chili. They said they'd take it under advisement. Now Diane's barely speaking to me. My coworkers are weirdly quiet. I swear I saw someone checking the fridge behind me today like they expected fireworks. So now I'm asking myself, am I crazy? Because from where I'm standing, this is ridiculous. I didn't overreact. I didn't raise my voice. I just don't want my food thrown out like it's trash. But maybe I'm missing something. Is there some unspoken rule that your name and date aren't enough anymore? Or is this just one of those weird office politics things where standing up for yourself makes you the villain? Either way, I've started prepping my meals again. And this week? Let's just say the labels are going to be a little bolder. Edit 1. I labeled today's lunch property of Eric, not expired, not trash, please don't throw away unless you'd like to reimburse me $8. We'll update if it survives. Edit 2. I've started keeping receipts taped to the lid. Edit 3. A coworker just whispered power move when I opened my lunch. We'll see how long this Cold War lasts. Update 1. My lunch survived, but apparently my sanity is up for review. Okay. So, a lot has happened since the chili incident. First off, thank you to everyone who commented on the original post. Seriously. I thought I was just venting into the void, but turns out people have strong opinions about workplace fridges. Who knew? So here's where things stand now. Monday came and went. My lunch survived. The bold label, the receipt taped to the top, the passive-aggressive Sharpie commentary? All intact. No one touched it. But it was Tuesday that things started to get weird. When I walked into the kitchen around noon, Diane was already there. She was microwaving some frozen lean cuisine thing, one of those Swedish meatball trays that smells like sadness and preservatives. She didn't look at me. Just said, glad you're feeling better. I said nothing. Opened the fridge. My meal was still there. She turned around and added, just make sure anything older than a few days gets tossed, okay? I've been keeping things tidy for everyone. I smiled. Politely. Said, mine's fresh. Made it last night. She nodded, gave this little tight-lipped smile, and walked out. That's when I saw it. A new sign taped to the inside of the fridge. All items must be clearly dated. Anything unmarked will be discarded on Fridays. Management. Fine. Passive aggression accepted. Game on. Wednesday, I got in early. Beat Diane by an hour. And I added a second sign underneath hers. Please do not throw away food that is clearly dated and labeled. If it's not yours, don't touch it. Thanks. By lunch, my sign was gone. Ripped clean off the door. Diane didn't say a word. But someone, I think Carol from Accounts Payable, slipped me a sticky note that just said solidarity. So at least one person's on my side. Then came Thursday. I decided to test the system. I brought in 2 meals. One labeled normally, Eric, made 7/3, please do not discard. The second labeled sarcastically, Eric's controversial lunch may cause managerial discomfort, verified fresh, $9.42 value, do not remove unless you are my mother or my lawyer. I checked them hourly. The first one was left alone. The second one? Mysteriously vanished by 2 p.m. This time it wasn't in the trash. It was in the freezer. Frozen solid. Stuck behind a gallon bag of questionable ice and someone's forgotten fish sticks. I fished it out, took it back to my desk, and let it thaw. Still edible. But I was done playing nice. That night I bought a small cooler. One of those plug-in units with a lock. Brought it in Friday morning, tucked it under my desk, and stocked it with my meals for the next week. No fridge. No drama. Or so I thought. Monday, 9:12 a.m. I get an email from Diane. Subject: Unauthorized appliances. Hi Eric. I noticed a cooler under your desk this morning. Please note that personal appliances not approved by facilities are not permitted in individual workspaces. If you need cold storage, the kitchen fridge is available to everyone. Best. Diane. I stared at that email for a full minute, then replied. Hi Diane. Thanks for your note. Unfortunately, the kitchen fridge has not been a secure or respectful environment for my food despite clear labeling. I've received no resolution from previous issues and have therefore chosen to use a small personal cooler to prevent further waste. If facilities needs to approve it, I'm happy to loop them in. Best. Eric. 3 hours later, I get an email from HR. Again. Apparently Diane has ongoing concerns about my cooperation with communal spaces and escalating behaviors. Escalating. For bringing my own lunch. In a locked cooler. To avoid having it thrown out. I had to sit through another Zoom meeting with 2 HR reps. They asked questions like, how are you feeling about your integration with the team, and do you think any of your actions could be interpreted as antagonistic? I asked them if protecting my personal property from repeated removal constituted antagonism. One of them blinked for a full 3 seconds before answering. So now we're at a standstill. I've kept the cooler. HR hasn't told me to remove it yet. Diane hasn't spoken to me directly since Wednesday. But this morning I found a sticky note on the cooler that said, fridge space is for everyone. Some people can't afford fancy gadgets. Just be a team player. No name. Just a red pen. Diane uses red pen. This has officially passed the point of absurdity. I just want to eat my food in peace. But apparently that's now a revolutionary act. Edit 1. Starting to think I should just write, not poisoned on every meal. Edit 2. Coworker took a pic of my sarcastic label and posted it on Instagram. Caption: office drama is spicy this week. I've achieved local celebrity. Update 2, the lunch war has gone corporate and I may have just made an enemy with a corner office. It's official. This isn't about food anymore. I wish it was. I wish I could say this is just a petty little office drama about leftovers and fridge etiquette. But no, somehow this thing has evolved into a full-blown corporate performance chess match. And I didn't even realize I'd been moved onto the board. Let's rewind. Tuesday morning I walk in early. Earlier than usual. I'm trying to stay off Diane's radar, keep my head down, just do my job and protect my Tupperware. I've got my plug-in cooler under my desk, still locked, my headphones in, and I'm deep in spreadsheet land when Carol taps me on the shoulder. She whispers, you should check the boardroom. I blink at her. Why? She just gives me this look. That office look. The kind that means something's gone down and HR's going to pretend they don't know anything. So I walk past the kitchen, past the copier, and peek into the boardroom. There it is. On the whiteboard in bright blue marker. Workplace culture, collaboration versus contention, Friday lunch and learn. Featuring none other than Diane, department lead. That's right. She's hosting a seminar about team dynamics. Carol quietly tells me the invite list includes the whole department. Mandatory attendance. Boxed lunches provided. Vegan options available. I almost laugh. I want to believe it's unrelated. But then I check my email. There it is. Subject, building a culture of cooperation. There's no way this isn't about me. I'm the only person in our department who's had a recent HR check-in. I'm the only one who isn't eating from the communal fridge. I'm the one who labeled his food like a protest sign and brought in a mini cooler. So yeah, this lunch and learn? It's a presentation about me, but framed in polite, company-approved jargon. And I know Diane. She's not going to call me out directly. No, she's going to ask hypothetical questions. Lead general discussions. Use phrases like shared expectations and avoiding escalation. So I decided to do a little pregame preparation. I reached out to HR. Again. This time I asked for a written copy of the communal fridge policy. Any document. Any training slide. Anything that proves this Friday clean-out policy actually exists. They responded with a link to the employee handbook. I checked. The only mention of kitchen etiquette is one vague line. Employees are expected to maintain cleanliness in shared kitchen spaces. That's it. No clean-out schedule. No labeling requirements. No rules against personal coolers. So I printed it, highlighted it, tucked it into a folder, just in case. Then, just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind, I reached out to facilities. Asked them if personal plug-in coolers are against policy. They responded, as long as it does not exceed 50 W and doesn't obstruct walkways, personal coolers are permitted in individual workspaces. Mine is 38 W. I printed that too. Fast forward to Friday. The lunch and learn starts at noon. We're all herded into the boardroom like passive sheep, boxed sandwiches and compostable water bottles lined up on the table like party favors. Diane's already up front, all smiles, laser pointer in hand. I sit near the back, quiet, watching. She starts talking about team cohesion and harmonious environments. Slides show stock photos of people high-fiving over laptops. Bullet points like respecting shared spaces, de-escalating tension, being solution-oriented. Then she starts tossing out examples. Let's say someone in the office feels like they're being singled out. How can we open communication without creating conflict? Or, what if one person makes a change to the workspace without consulting the group? How do we handle that collaboratively? Every example is aimed directly at me. But then, something unexpected happens. Carol raises her hand. She says, I don't mean to derail the conversation, but can we talk about the fridge? I've had my almond milk thrown out twice. Diane blinks. I think we're getting off topic, she says. But Carol doesn't stop. Because if we're going to talk about cooperation, maybe we start with not throwing away other people's stuff without asking. Then Marcus, quiet, sweet, always on mute Marcus, chimes in. Yeah, I had a salad vanish 2 weeks ago. Labeled and everything. I didn't bring it up because, vibes. Now the room is shifting. The conversation's moving away from Eric is difficult and toward maybe Diane's the common denominator. She's losing control. So she pivots. Goes full professionalism. Says we'll circle back to the kitchen issues in a future policy review. I almost feel bad for her. Almost. Later that day, I get an email. From a name I don't recognize. Subject, facilities request. Turns out someone higher up saw my inquiry and wants to schedule a meeting about improvements to shared office environments. They want to hear more. Suddenly, I'm not the problem. I'm a case study. This afternoon, I walked into the kitchen to grab a coffee and the fridge had a new sign. Reminder, please respect labeled items. If unsure, ask the owner or leave it. Signed, Office Management. Not Diane. Someone above her. Carol winked at me. Marcus gave me a thumbs up. And Diane? She walked past me in the hallway without a word. No smile. No comment. Just silence. Feels like I won a small battle. But something tells me the war isn't over yet. Edit 1. Someone left a note on my lunch today. Thank you for standing up. Some of us were afraid to. I don't even know who wrote it. Edit 2. If this ends in a promotion, I'm naming my next meal Victory Lasagna. Update 3. I didn't want to be the main character. But now the VP knows my name. This is the part of the story where things start getting uncomfortable. In it you broke something sacred and now the system's squinting at you kind of way. I didn't mean to shake the tree. But apparently when you question an unspoken hierarchy, it doesn't just rattle the leaves. It exposes the rot. So remember how the facilities team looped in someone higher up? Well, that someone turned out to be Rita, the vice president of people operations. I didn't know her name before this week. Now she's booked 30 minutes on my calendar next Monday. Subject line, informal chat, workspace feedback. That's not terrifying at all. Let me back up. After the lunch and learn fiasco, things at the office got strangely quiet. Like everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. Diane didn't say a word to me all week. No snide fridge notes, no side eyes in meetings. Just pure, clinical silence. Honestly, I thought maybe it was over. Maybe we'd all move on, pretend nothing happened, let the fridge become a cold Switzerland again. Then Thursday came. I opened the fridge and found a single sheet of paper taped to the back wall. Typed. Centered. Professional font. Please be advised, personal appliances including coolers, plug-in fridges, or heating elements are not allowed at individual workstations unless explicitly approved by facilities and HR. Failure to comply may result in disciplinary action. It wasn't signed. No letterhead. No author. But someone had slipped it into the company policy binder in the supply room too. It wasn't there last week. I checked. So I did what any person backed into a fluorescent lit corner would do. I printed out the email I received from facilities 2 weeks ago, the one that said my cooler was fine, and pinned it to the wall above the anonymous notice. Then I wrote underneath it in Sharpie clarification. From facilities. Dated July 2nd. And that's when everything escalated. An hour later, I was pulled into a brief check-in with HR. Again. Different rep this time. Nicer. Younger. Less scripted. He said there'd been some confusion about personal appliances and they were looking into it. Asked me if I felt safe. If I was feeling targeted. I said yes. He blinked. And that's when I showed him everything. the passive-aggressive notes, the freezer incident, the disappearing fridge signs. The new policy slipped in without official notice. The fact that Diane hadn't acknowledged any of it publicly but had very clearly gone on a campaign to isolate me professionally. He looked concerned. Said he'd escalate it properly. I thought that meant another email. Maybe a quiet meeting. At most, a policy memo. Instead, this morning I got the meeting invite from Rita, the VP, my manager's manager's manager. Now I'm sitting here at my desk trying to act normal while every glance from Diane feels like she's imagining me spontaneously combusting. But here's the thing. It's not just about me anymore. After the fridge notice, 6 people came up to me privately. 6. Carol told me Diane once threw away her oat milk and said we don't need dairy alternatives cluttering the shelves. Marcus said he used to bring lunch but stopped because his containers were mysteriously vanishing. Gina from tech said she got told not to store food overnight, even if it was labeled for the next day. One guy, let's call him Tom, said Diane once accidentally threw out his insulin kit when she was clearing space. That one hit hard. We've all just been playing along, afraid to speak up. Because Diane's not just a micromanager. She's a quiet tyrant. The kind who kills you with professionalism and CCs. So yeah, I'm not going into that meeting Monday to talk about Tupperware anymore. I'm going to talk about a pattern. About how a petty power trip turned into policy abuse. About how people like Diane don't need to scream to control you, they just need plausible deniability and a trash can. And the worst part? I think she genuinely believes she's the victim in all this. At 5:14 p.m. today, just as I was logging off, I saw her standing by the kitchen door, holding a plastic container that said, "Do not discard, Diane, 7/5" in all caps. She looked at me, dead in the eyes, then smiled. Like a dare. But I didn't blink. I just walked past her. Calm. Quiet. I've stopped needing to prove anything. Because come Monday, she won't be the only one who gets to speak. Edit 1. If Rita offers me coffee during the meeting, I'm asking for it from the fridge. Edit 2. Someone left a sticker on my cooler that says Team Tupperware. I'm not crying. You are. Final update. I walked into that meeting with receipts. Diane walked out with a box. So, I had my meeting with Rita. And I didn't sleep the night before. I laid awake rehearsing what I'd say, what I wouldn't say, how to walk that tightrope between here's what happened and please don't label me the office whistleblower. Zoe, my girlfriend, helped me organize everything into a binder. She even made labeled tabs, chronology, evidence, statements, policy clarifications. Yes, I brought a binder to a meeting with a VP. I'm not sorry. Monday, 9:30 a.m. sharp, I walk into conference room C. Rita's already there. Late 40s. Sharp blazer. Zero nonsense energy. She smiles, but it's the kind that says, I've read your emails. Let's get to it. She doesn't ask if I want coffee. She asks if I have anything to share. So I start slow. Calm. I walk her through the timeline. How I started meal prepping. How things started disappearing. How I politely escalated, got brushed off, and ultimately brought in a personal cooler because that seemed like the least disruptive solution. I tell her about the fake policies being posted. The passive-aggressive notes. The lunch and learn clearly aimed at me. The sudden mysteriously appearing rule in the kitchen binder. I give her printouts. Photos. Screenshots. Timestamped emails. I don't name call. I don't speculate. I just present. When I'm done, she sits back and says, do you know how many complaints we've had about Diane in the last 6 months? I shake my head. She holds up 4 fingers. All from different departments. All documented. Most of them didn't follow through. They were afraid. Then she nods at my binder. But this is follow through. By the end of the meeting, she tells me 2 things. They're launching a formal review of Diane's conduct, not just regarding the fridge, but her pattern of weaponizing policy to control or isolate employees. My cooler is absolutely allowed. I have written confirmation and no further action is required. She thanks me. Not politely. Sincerely. And just like that, I'm not the problem anymore. I'm the catalyst. Fast forward to Wednesday. Diane doesn't show up for work. By 11 a.m., there's a quiet buzz around the office. People whispering by the copier. Someone's Slack status says, was it the fridge though? By 3 p.m., Rita sends a company-wide email. Please welcome interim department lead Gina from tech while we assess a leadership transition in our division. Thank you all for your ongoing commitment to a respectful and collaborative workspace. No name. No explanation. But we all know. Carol brings donuts the next morning. Leaves one on my desk with a post-it. To the man who won the fridge war. By Friday, the mood in the office has completely changed. Marcus started bringing his lunch again. Tom has his insulin kit in the fridge clearly labeled, boldly placed. There's even a sign-up sheet for shared fridge rules, and guess what? Nobody's food has gone missing all week. The fridge? It's peaceful. And Diane? Word is she was asked to step down. Voluntary resignation. But no one believes that. Not really. Later that week, I get a handwritten note in my locker. No name. Just, thanks for speaking up. I almost quit last month. You made it feel survivable again. That one hit me harder than anything else. I didn't start this to be noble. I just wanted to eat in peace. But apparently in this office, peace is radical. And here's the real kicker. Rita called me back in today. Told me they're looking for someone to head a new employee experience committee to help shape policy, handle grievances, and advocate for staff concerns before they blow up. She said she liked how I handled this one. I accepted. Because why not? If I can survive weaponized Tupperware politics, I can survive anything. So yeah, that's the end of the saga. No revenge plot. No shouting match. Just quiet, persistent pressure. A binder. A cooler. And the decision to stop being polite about being mistreated. Now I eat in peace. And sometimes, that's enough. Edit 1. Someone replaced the fridge sign with a laminated quote. What you permit, you promote. Unknown. Edit 2. I'm bringing chili next week. Just for old time's sake.